What's really good, my people? Welcome into No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Little, Big Nick the Quick. With me, as always, we got a lot to talk about. You know, it's summer, it's slow. We're on here every couple weeks, but we got a lot to break down today. NBA Free Agency Part 2, aka Dame Time. Dame Lillard still has not, quote unquote, picked a destination, has not been traded to a destination. Will he land in a random spot? Will he eventually get to Miami? We will find out. Summer League is in full effect. Victor Wembanyama has had a couple games, and he's had some mixed performances. Some may say the Summer League takes are always scorching hot. We'll talk about some of those. And the NBA also announces the NBA Cup. The rules are broken down. The group stage odds are out. We could talk about how you feel about the tournament. Is it going to mean anything? Should it mean something? Or is it just a little fun thing to have? We'll break that down, of course. We're in Chicago. Northwestern, Pat Fitzgerald gets fired. Hazing incidents, racism culture, all types of stuff going on in the Northwestern football program. He initially got broke off for a couple of weeks, got suspended. He has now been fired from his post as the head coach at Northwestern football. We'll talk about that. We'll close it out with a little fun. How locked in are we going to be on the Netflix quarterback show? We got a couple things to break down. No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. Let's get to it.
Now look at Mossy. Really? Oh, so that's how you're going to play it. You going to do this? Okay, fine. That's all I needed. That's all I needed for him to do that. And it became personal with me.
Big Nick the Quick, what's goody?
How we feeling?
What's going on, man?
Man, back in recovery mode. Look, I feel like, I don't know if you felt like this last week, but whenever a holiday falls in the middle of the week, especially if it's the 4th of July, like the rest of the week is tough, man. So I feel like I'm finally getting back into the groove.
Finally getting back into the swing.
Yeah. Also, shout out Sean for coming through last week too, man. Sean crossed the city border, came through, kicked it, man.
I wish I could say the same for Nick. You know what I'm saying? I had a little birthday party. I had a little birthday party. See, this is the thing about, if y'all don't know this about Nick, Nick gives you flack if you don't come up to his place, but he never leaves his spot. He never leaves his side of town. So he gonna give you a hard time if you don't come up to his side of town. But he never comes down to the city. Never makes his way.
I got everything I need, man. It's
never makes his way this way. So
I'm good where I'm at.
Don't get it confused. You know what I'm saying? But it was fun. Stopped by Big Nick the Quick's 4th of July. It's a good time. It's always nice to just go chill, relax, have a couple beers, have a couple of wings, and do the whole thing. I was one thing that doesn't get old as well. I was on, shout out my guy Jason Hayward, took me on the boat last night. A nice Chicago summer evening rolling down the river. Unbeatable. Has yet to be.
Did you ever used to take shout out our guy Will Runzel? Did you ever used to take his pop's boat down to like the games and down like Soldier Field?
No, I never did that. I never did that.
Love. One year we actually got a ride from his brother. Shout out Coop. Gave us a ride from Lollapalooza back to Evanston, which was the biggest lick of all time. You ever try to leave Lolla?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And go north? It's forget about it.
Yeah.
We took the boat back at like midnight. It was love. So yeah, it's unbeaten for sure. If I had the bread, I'd definitely cop.
It was. Vessel. Shout out Chris Chelios. Saw Chris Chelios on a
Chelios still getting it into the city. Still out here,
kicking it, man. Shout out Chris Chelios.
Legendary.
So yeah, man. Shout out Jay Hay. We stopped, got some food, kicked it, did the whole up and down the river, up and down. Just the different views of the city, man. Always spectacular. Best city in the world, Chicago, Illinois. Let's jump into it. NBA Free Agency Part 2. I just want to focus on Dame Lillard because I think that's the only move that's really left. We talked about some of the other moves on NBA Free Agency Part 1. We didn't jump into too much depth because I explained I'm not a big free agent guy. I'm not a big assumer. I'm not a big guesser. Let me see you on the floor. I have an opinion on it, but I'm not going to go into depth and talk very matter of fact about how this is such a good deal for said team because this, that, and the third. Let's see how folks shows up and actually fits with the team and plays because it's countless times someone signed, big money, they show up, shit doesn't work, they don't feel like playing. It's all types of stuff going on. But
Well, I think, and
think
also you got the flip side of that too, right? Where a lot of times the deals that end up making a big impact are the ones you don't even think about. A lot of fringe deals, a lot of seventh, eighth guys that
right.
end up playing a big role. So yeah,
Like the Aaron Gordon deal a few years ago. It's like you
yes,
never would have thought that was too big of a
couple
needle
years,
mover.
yeah, and then it's a massive deal.
Ended
Actually,
up winning a
it helps us
title.
win a title for sure.
No doubt. So Dame Lillard does not fit that description for me, though. Dame Lillard is no joke. He's a real needle mover. It's come out reports from Portland saying that, hey, if it's going to take a few months, it's going to take a few months. We're not going to rush anything. We're not going to, take a deal or something that we don't feel comfortable giving up Dame for. If we got to include one team, we'll do that. If we got to include a couple, we'll do that. Starts to get a little interesting because all that loyalty Dame is given, it's now time for Portland to be loyal. Am I right or am I wrong, Big Nick the Quick?
So I think you're right. I think you're right on
this
one
is
level.
the time for Portland to be loyal because he wants to go to Miami, according to tons of reports. Woj still going back and forth on different things, but it seems that Miami is still the leader in the clubhouse. Now, I would say, Nick, Dame Lillard has been very loyal to the Portland Trail Blazers, and he's been paid. This is also the flip side. He's been paid handsomely for this loyalty.
Absolutely.
The whole loyalty conversation, it's not like Dame Lillard has been making the veteran mid-level exception and been loyal.
He's not doing the Tom Brady giving cash back to other guys can fit in type situation.
Let's not forget about that piece. It's the Dame has been loyal. He's also been making top dollar from them and Adidas.
NBA contracts are designed and the salary cap. The CBA is designed that you make the most money by not moving, right? You get extra years, you get extra incentives. Dame has hit every single All NBA, all that. So Dame Lillard is being paid handsomely, 100%. And on the loyalty thing, yeah, for sure, man. They do owe him loyalty. They owe him loyalty in the sense that we're not going to trade you to the Minnesota Timberwolves for 6 first-round picks or something like that, right? But I also think it's July. It's July 11th. The NBA season does not start till October. So they owe him loyalty, but they don't need to be pressed. They don't need to rush into some move because Dame wants to go to Miami. So whatever Miami throws apart, you have to make that move. Like, it's in their best interest to take their time. The pressure is really on Miami at this point in time to put together some type of trade or make whatever deals you got to make to collect whatever assets you need to make a deal with Portland. But the way I see it, if I'm Portland, I agree with what he said. I'm not pressed. I'm not going to come out here and make a deal for Dame on July 15th because he wants to leave right now. Like, we got 3 months till the season starts. Like, we need to make a deal that's going to put us in the best position. So while, yes, we will deal you, and no, we're not going to deal you somewhere that you absolutely don't want to go, we're also going to make it best for us. So, hey, look, if other teams got to get involved, if we got to add in some picks, if we got to get Zach LaVine somehow involved in this, if we got to get this team involved in it, that's fine. You guys figure that out. We got Dame. You want Dame. You figure out everything else. So, Pat Riley, you make those calls around the league. You facilitate something, and you come to us. But I'm not pressed. I don't feel that loyal that it's like, hey, give me Duncan Robinson and Novak Djokovic, and I'm good to go. You know what I mean? Like, we're not doing that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the words of Joe Cronin, the Trailblazers GM. He said if it takes months, it takes months. And that's a quote from him.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Now, does that make you, Nick, if you're Dame Lillard, feel some type of way? Or is it just business is business type of attitude?
It probably does because you feel that you've been super loyal. And I think that the other thing that's starting to happen is, like, look, it's been great for Dame his entire career, right? Like, as far as his situation in Portland, how he's looked at, everything like that. Now you see him on Twitter clapping back, talking about, I don't know why, but people don't understand, like, who did I mislead? So it's starting to heat up in the Lillard household right now, I feel like, and that's just something he probably hasn't dealt with before. So I think in that regard, you're kind of just like, yeah, now I'm taking flack. Now I'm being looked at as disloyal. The longer that this drags on, the more I got to deal with. But I mean, that's just kind of what comes with it, man. I also think, if we're being completely honest, I also think that Dame never really wanted to leave Portland. I think the outside noise got so loud that people telling him that he needs to leave Portland that he was finding
really?
Like, okay, cool. Yeah,
I really think he's caving?
So. I think, yeah, bro. I think he's caving to everything around him for sure. I think he was fine being there. I think Bradley Beal was fine being in Washington. I think those guys were good where they were at. I think that Dame was forced to force his way out. I really believe that. Because if he really wanted to get out of there, you would have been out of there the last couple of years. Like they've been rudderless for years now. You know what I mean? It's been Dame.
Yeah, we said it, man. We said it years ago.
Yeah, you got nothing really tangible for CJ, right? You haven't made any moves. What was the move I always talked about? We need defense, so let's keep re-signing Nurkic. You know what I mean? And that's who we're going to have play the 5. Like, it doesn't make sense. So
and go get our guy. Who am I talking about?
Who, Hassan Whiteside?
No, the guy.
He was up there. Who?
Norman.
Oh, Norman Powell. Yeah, Norman Powell.
Probably the last player in the NBA
and
they needed was Norm Powell, and they went and added Norm Powell. And
it was like, go to Norm Powell.
What are these guys doing over there?
You refuse to address defense. Yeah, and so I mean, I think it's been like that for a while.
It's just been bad roster construction. Yeah,
I think he was cool, though. I really do think he was cool. I think that's why he's been cool. I think that's why you've never heard anything. The only noise we ever heard about Dame leaving was from everybody else but Dame, up until 2 weeks ago when he finally said, "Okay, it's time to go." And it wasn't even like we've seen guys really demand trades, like when you're really trying to get the fuck up out of there.
He has been doing like the soft demand.
It's the soft demand. I'm gonna put it out to the media. I'm not on there. You know, if it was certain people are like, "Oh, get me out of here." You know what I mean? Ben Simmons had a cell phone in his pocket, allegedly. But you know, this is not the hard demand of trying to get out of there. So I really believe he never would have left if the pressure didn't get so crazy.
Let me ask you this.
And here's the other thing. It's not like he's trying to force himself to a guaranteed title either. Like, he's not like, yo, put me on Boston, put me on Golden State, put me on one of these top teams. Like, yo, we love Miami, but it's not like Miami's a Dame Lillard away from competing for a championship, right? Or winning the title. Like, again, we love Miami, love what we saw from them last year and all that. But it's not like I'm like, if that's the team I want to go on to win a title, it's not like if I had my pick of the entire league.
Dame, Jimmy, and Bam in the East. It's a
great squad. Absolutely. Yeah. But I'm saying, if you could say one team, wouldn't it be like, hey, get me on Boston? Get me on whatever?
So, like, if I was just like trying to get to.
If I guaranteed title.
Well,
I'm only leaving Portland to win a title.
This is a loaded question because some may say Miami is the place to go to get to the finals in the East. Unless something changes,
he feels a need right away.
Unless something changes with Boston where they get some type of character after losing their big character guy in Marcus Smart. It's going to be the second year for Missoula. I get that. I guess, Grant Williams, another guy that gives you a little edge. He's
wide
gone.
Open Grant Williams.
Wide open Grant Williams.
Never seen anything like
that boy always open.
My man's just open daily, nightly.
Grant Williams open right now.
He's open right now.
So there's still a lot of question marks in Boston, right? Like, maybe a team that has the least amount of questions is Miami right now.
That's a good point.
Like Philly, lots of questions.
Philly would be another one, actually. Philly would be the team I was thinking. Yeah, Philly would be the one if I was like, hey, you can desert me in somewhere. You're basically swapping me for James Harden.
I think we're starting to get to there's a lot of questions in Milwaukee too.
Milwaukee. Again, hey,
they continue to bring back the same roster. And
I've heard a lot of teams around the Dame Lillard talk. Why have I not heard the Milwaukee Bucks around the Dame Lillard talk? What's going on over there? What's their philosophy as a team?
The philosophy is they have enough.
Like, why are they not somehow trying to get involved in this?
I don't know. We've been saying that for years. I don't get it. They
weren't involved in Harden a few years ago. Were they involved in Durant last summer? I don't think so. They're not involved in Lillard. It's like guys should want to play with Giannis. I understand Milwaukee's not South Beach, but guys should want to play with Giannis.
I think this is a classic situation where a small market team got a ring. They're not too pressed. Right. At the end of the day, they're not too pressed about what's going on and what they need to do and how they're going to get another one.
Well, he's about to become pressed because if I'm him, I'm like, yo, what are you guys doing? This is the same roster we literally had when we won the title, and it was old then.
Yeah, right. No, for real though.
And it was missing some pieces, and I had to give him 50.
Yeah, straight like that. And Middleton has been breaking down. We just gave him big money. Brook Lopez is old. he's transformed his game. This is
I
the
don't
same
mind. I don't mind the
conversation.
Lopez contract, but yeah,
This is the same.
we've
Oh
talked
yeah,
about Miami,
it's a 2-year
Milwaukee
deal.
all
Yeah,
year. Yeah,
it's a
2 years,
2-year
fine.
deal. Yeah, I'm
Whatever.
not mad at the Brook deal at all. But yeah, this is the same conversation we've had about Milwaukee for a while. So if you to talk about Dame, maybe that is the clearest. You trust the coach, you trust the GM,
Fair.
you trust Jimmy to show up every night. Bam showed how versatile he can be when given the opportunity and when he's playing his best game. They fill out the rest. Duncan's still there. They can fill out the rest of the roster with some guys.
There's a clear opening for a high volume scorer too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
In Boston, you got to figure it out around those guys. And Golden State, you obviously have to figure out around those guys. And almost every other situation, maybe minus Philly, you got to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not even a slot for him.
I'm just saying. I was just saying,
yeah.
if you want to force your way somewhere, you know
Sure.
what I mean. You're kind of like, hey, I'm going here or nowhere else. But he didn't have the bill. He didn't have the bill. Hey, come on, come on down. I love it. I love it.
So yeah, man.
DeMar and Dame, man, we'd be the worst defensive team in fucking history of the NBA.
Yeah, the rest of the free agency for me is about Dame, and we'll see where he checks out, and we'll talk about that when he makes his final decision. Let's move over to the Summer League before we get over to Pat Fitzgerald, Northwestern, and this NBA Cup. Where are you at on Summer League? When you're watching Summer League, because I haven't watched too much. I've watched a bit. I'm not super locked in. I've been enjoying myself this summer. But of course, I watched Wembanyama. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if the physicality surprised me a little bit. Because you know what's funny, Nick? If you go back throughout the years, typically the physicality part in Summer League is dealt with a lot better than what I saw from Victor. Like Pat Williams was physical. I could just talk about the Bulls. Wendell Carter Jr. in the Summer League, I'm like, this dude is going to be a fucking monster. Yeah. And then you get to the actual game days, the actual 82, and it's like, okay, the physicality level isn't there. For Victor to kind of get a little beat up physically in the Summer League surprised me a bit. Performance was whatever. Didn't shoot it well from the floor in game one. How did you feel about, I guess, him? How do you feel about Summer League? And then the takes that come out of Summer League.
Yeah, so first, as far as like the physicality, 100%, man. Number one, I have zero reaction to any of it. I don't watch any Summer League. I turned on 30 seconds of Wembanyama. He dribbled to the baseline and hit a pull up. I'm sorry, not the baseline. He dribbled the free throw line and pulled up and kind of hit like a little fadeaway jumper. And I was like, all right, good. I've seen enough. I'm good. I'm here. That's fine. If he can do that in the NBA, we'll be okay. As far as the physicality, look, man, first off, this dude is fresh off the plane. It's been a whirlwind for him. He's got all types of crazy shit going on in Vegas. He's got the Britney Spears incident. You know, he's been on a whirlwind between Paris and San Antonio and the draft and, you know what I'm saying, out to Vegas for Summer League. So I just feel like, number one, this is the first game of Summer League. Like, let's chill. It's the first time he's played against this kind of, I guess, American players on that type of stage. So, yeah, he might get roughed up a little bit, but I think he'll be fine, man. That's why you trust the organization and the people around him and the people who are going to get some mass on his body and all that, and he could end up being fine. Go back to what Giannis looked like when he first came in the league. He was like a stick figure. You know, again, the NBA nutritionists, all that, they're going to get this guy fine. I think it's hilarious, some of the takes that I saw. It's like the best thing ever for like the I told you so crowd was for Wembanyama to get pushed around a little bit in Summer League and get dunked on and get his shit beat and all that. It was like, see, I told you this guy isn't going to be shit. Yeah. I told you he's not going to be shit. It's like, calm down. Just like we've seen guys not look good in Summer League that end up being great, we've seen guys look absolutely unstoppable in Summer League that could not make an NBA roster. So let's just calm down with the Summer League takes, especially after one game, especially after his first game as a contracted player in the NBA. Like, let's just calm down here. Everybody's going to be going at him because that's your moment. You dunk on Victor Wembanyama. You put Wembanyama in the blender. You body him up. Guess what? You're on Sports Center for the next 2 or 3 days. So guys are going to be going after him. You have to trust the talent. You have to trust the fact that he's going to adjust. But some of the stuff that I saw, some of the people that were celebrating or I told you so or whatever, it's like, yo, calm down. It is one game of Summer League. I don't watch Summer League. The same way you feel about some of the speculation about free agency and all that, I feel 10 times more about that than Summer League. I know I said I want to go. I just want to go and watch some basketball and be in the mix. But Not because I think that Summer League matters. Who's won the last 5 Summer League? Give me one of the last 5 Summer League winners.
Didn't the Bulls win one?
Maybe. I don't know. The Bulls could have won. The Bulls could have won. Hey, the Bulls could have won all 5. The Bulls could be in the middle of a fucking 10-year Summer League dynasty, and I wouldn't be able to tell you because I'm not watching it. So let's just pipe down on all that. Again, you're also talking about like, you've been with your teammates for maybe 36 hours. You're running some very vanilla offense. Defensively, it's just, go out there and try to block some shit. And you're playing against some guys that are really trying to make it. So like for them, this is life or death. The guy that yoked on Wembayama, I don't remember who it was, but I'm sure it was life or death. Like he needs to be there. I'm trying to make a roster. My kids got to eat. Like he'll be fine, man. Let him get into the system. Shout out Popovich, by the way, for finessing $80 million out of San Antonio. What a deal. But yeah, so he'll get there in the system with that great San Antonio situation, and you just got to trust on him to make it work, man. Now, if we get to NBA games, right, and we're at game 40, game 45, and Wembayama is still getting beat around and it doesn't look like he's comfortable, okay, then we could talk about that. But I'm not worried about that at all, man. The Summer League takes to me are crazy.
Do you remember
crazy.
You remember when Trae Young, I think I want to say this is exactly what happened. His first attempt from 3 was an air ball, and people were like, yo, this guy's going to be
He's a bust. Yeah, he's a bust.
He took one attempt.
Yeah.
For Victor Wembanyama, after the draft, to win Rookie of the Year was minus 225 at DraftKings. After his 2 Summer League appearances, only down to minus 200. He averaged 18, 10, 4 blocks, 1.5 assists on 41% shooting through 2 games in the Summer League. Now on the flip side, Chet.
Wait, so how much of that, real quick, is Wembayama struggling versus Henderson or whoever it is maybe looking all right?
I mean, it only goes down 25 cents.
Exactly.
So
it didn't really go down at all.
Just like we're saying, this doesn't really matter too much. The books aren't taking too much.
Go ahead and grab it there.
I think
probably the best it'll be.
See, I think that if you do like Victor, I mean, I guess 2 to 1 on your money or 1 to 2 on your money is not the worst, or 2 to 1 on your money is not the worst. But the field would seem like it'd be the play to me.
Yeah.
With Chet being in the mix, and then you get Scoot, and you get the rest of those guys. So that's interesting. But
there is a world that Brandon Miller goes and averages 20 points a game.
Yeah, dude, because
the game is there.
Lonzo just keeps feeding him the rock, and nobody cares about playing. Yeah, LaMelo, excuse me, and no one cares about playing the Hornets. So it's just a free for all the time.
Yeah, and no one on the Hornets cares about playing. So they're free for all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's Summer League is a different beast. But I think, dude, part of the reason why I'm not super active on the NBA stuff in the summer is people just can't stop getting the takes off. They have to get a take off.
It's ridiculous.
So Summer League is another way to get a take off. So they got to get it off. So that's part of that. But that also leads us into some new takes about the NBA Cup. If you're not paying attention, the NBA launched a mid-season tournament called the NBA Cup. If you're a soccer fan, it's very similar to the Champions League, where there's going to be group stages on the east and the west side. The groups are going to come out. Then they play a quarterfinal, and then they'll play the 8 teams come out of the group. They go to the quarterfinals. Then they go to the semis, and then there's a final. The semi and the finals are both going to be in Las Vegas. The tournament runs the first week of November through the first week of December. Nationally televised. All games will count towards the regular season 82-game schedule, which is very interesting. I thought that's a different twist in it. So people will still be able to put their numbers up. They'll still count towards all NBA. They'll still count towards your season averages, your season totals for contracts and that type of thing, for all-star game consideration. But what are your thoughts on the in-season tournament? This is going to be the inaugural season, NBA Cup. Something else to play for. I didn't get the numbers on the compensation breakdown. And how much some of these teams and players will get paid if they do win the cup. But what do you think about the overall idea and having a little mid-season action? Because it's pretty early in the season. Season starts in October. This shit starts in November.
I love it. Honestly, I love it, man. I'm a big fan of Silver and what they try to do. I think that if you look at the NBA, one of the issues the NBA have is that it's extremely popular. Like, it's growing in popularity. The players are extremely popular. They're extremely marketable. All that. but it doesn't necessarily translate to ratings for them in the regular season. That's like the long been ugly secret for the NBA is the league keeps growing in popularity, but the ratings don't necessarily. So I think then what you're essentially doing is taking a bunch of regular season games and making them a lot more interesting. And you're giving the players the incentive to play in them because, like you said, it's still going to count towards your regular season statistics. So now with some of the new stuff that they've done around, was it all NBA and all that, and you have a minimum games requirement, it's not like these teams can really blow off games. Right?
All NBA is also not it's positionless now too.
Exactly.
So you can have 4 guards on there. You can have 3.
So guys have more
bigs.
of a chance to make that. And we saw with contract wise, I mean, that's the difference between 50, 60, $70 million in some cases. They're going to count towards your regular season statistics. Look, guys care about that. So it's just going to take some games that otherwise may have been boring. And the NBA has success in the playoffs, right? People obviously love watching the playoffs because they feel that the games are more intense. So if you can take a handful of regular season games, make them that much more important, add in a tournament, add in some new storylines, add in some new
money,
intrigue. And then also what you do is you take some of these shittier teams, right? Your Orlandos and your Detroits and those type of squads, and you make these games actually matter to them. Like if you think the Magic aren't going to go hard in a game like this, if you think the Pistons aren't going to go hard in games like this, because they still have the opportunity to catch someone slipping, right, and make it to the next round of the tournament.
Yep.
Single elimination. These are still the best players of the world.
After the group stage, single elimination. Yep.
Or even beyond that, a team like the Bulls, where it's like, hey, this is one of our major market teams. We know they're not going to be able to compete for a championship, but if this starts to matter to them, maybe they get out of the group stage and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we have Chicago playing meaningless basketball, and otherwise when they wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think it's a great idea. Also, look, man, you start having this little tournament and little things you want to try out around the league. Guess where you can do it? In this in-season tournament, right? We want to tinker with this. We want to tinker with that. Let's try this out in some of our tournament games. So I think for the league, again, man, like it's just another way to keep it interesting and to try to bring people watching the games. They don't have a popularity problem with the league. They don't have a popularity problem with the players. The players are as famous as they've ever been. When you compare it to the NFL, like the NFL is by far the biggest league, but how many NFL players do you actually recognize, right? You probably recognize all 32 quarterbacks. You probably recognize some of your top-end defensive players, some of your more out-there wide receivers, but I could give you a list of the top 7 rushers in the NFL last year, and I guarantee you and I, who watch every single NFL game, who have our YouTube TV Sunday ticket, who are geared up, probably couldn't pick some of these guys out of a lineup. Like, let's be completely honest, outside of maybe a Derrick Henry or someone that we're used to seeing. So
we could probably do quite a bit.
I looked at it.
But even if we get down to like, go ahead.
Travis Etienne was number 7th in the league. Travis Etienne could walk up to me right now, shake my hand, and say, "Hey, I'm Travis," and I would have no fucking idea, right? There are Bears players who could walk up to me and I have no idea who they. I might be like, buddy looks familiar, but you could take the 70th scorer in the NBA, and he could walk into fucking Dunkin' Donuts and everybody would know who it is. Like, oh, that's Davis Bertans. Like, look, you know what I'm saying? Let's get a picture, like whatever.
Facts.
So they have their, but people aren't watching the games like that. So you're basically making those games more interesting. You're adding a fun wrinkle that you can tinker with, and I think it'll be cool, man. It's all about how the players buy in, though. And if you're a player, again, you end up dividing that pot of money. So it's in your best interest to make this thing work. Like, that's why I thought it was funny when they were all bitching about the play-in tournament, because I'm like, yo, if this works, it brings more money to the league, which ultimately makes players more money. So, yeah, I'm excited for it, man. I like it. I think it's a great idea, and you got to try new things.
No question. I agree 100%. I think it'll be fun. It gives – the biggest problem the NBA has, a league that doesn't have many problems, to be completely honest, is that there's some games that people don't show up to. Purely on a lot of different aspects, travel, whatever. The regular season is long. 82 games is a long season. This gives a little juice to the middle of that schedule. That's it. And I'm open to it more competitively. I think automatically these guys will compete harder than they would for a regular season game, and that's all we're asking for here. If you get to the semifinal of a new cup, and it's single elimination, you're going to pull up trying to win those games. That's it. That's all. The competition will be there coming down the stretch. You even see it throughout the league. A perfect example of how guys will step up if it comes down to it is when they made the Kobe Bryant rules in the All-Star game. and it got to the fourth quarter and it was a race to a certain score to win the game. Those games, even if they were all-star games, got competitive because these are the top competitive athletes in the world, and that's exactly what the NBA Cup will bring. People were worried about the play-in. It's fucking awesome.
It's awesome.
The play-in is awesome. The NBA Cup, maybe it takes a little more steam than the play-in because it's not, directly connected to the playoffs. But once this starts to roll, and years down the road, I think this will be a great addition to the NBA. And Silver, more than Stern, is just willing to try things and will scrap shit too. Like, I didn't really like that. That didn't work, whatever it is. But he's willing to try things. He's shown that over the years with the All-Star game, with the play-in, with this now NBA Cup. And it's proven to be very fun for soccer specifically, where people care about it. It starts to become, Nick, this is going to become that thing where like that NBA team won the double. They won the NBA Cup. They won the championship, like that type of thing.
Well, and you know what else it adds intrigue to? Gambling.
Of course.
What's one of the big, I don't gotta explain this to you, but what's one of the biggest drivers of popularity of sports right now is gambling. So you're adding more.
You think it's a coincidence that the semifinal and the championship are at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on Las Vegas Boulevard?
So it's like, hey, our gambling partners like this, a little more action. You guys are adding some more meaningful games, more nationally televised games, more games that the public's going to have an interest in, and that interest will translate into gambling.
No
Absolutely.
question.
So, yeah, when you talk about Silver, like throwing shit on the wall and see if it sticks, I love it, man. Like, again, there's 82. We've all agreed that 82 games is a long-ass season, and there's a lot of games we just don't care about. Like, you and I are NBA junkies. There's a stretch of the calendar where it's like, all right, I got to go back upstairs to my family for a little bit. You know what I mean? Shit is kind of calmed down. You know what I mean? I know where we're at. We're kind of in cruise control right here. I'm gonna go back until it's time to go back into hibernation when we're getting close to the playoffs. So what you're doing now is you're adding a lot of intrigue to a bunch of games that had no meaning to them, and for all teams too. Again, like all teams are going to be able to compete in it. If you follow it in soccer, there's always surprises. There's always surprise in anything like this. And America loves a tournament.
Yeah, everybody loves tournament.
Everybody loves it.
Your team is in it, they'll love it. So everybody gets a shot to get out of the group stage. There's already group odds out if you want to bet teams to come out of certain groups.
Of course there are.
That's going to be fun. So I have no problem with the NBA.
Do you have those? Do you have those up by any chance?
Yeah, I do actually. Hold on one sec. So if you
is
haven't
there like
seen
an overwhelming favorite to get out of the group,
if you haven't, no one really. If you haven't seen them yet, I would highly suggest you go check them out. But the NBA group winners. So first of all, it's completely random for the East and then completely random for the West, but it stays in division. So Group A for the East is Philly, the Cavs, the Hawks, the Pacers, and the Pistons. Philadelphia is the leader there for the Cup at plus 160. Cleveland's plus 250. The Hawks are plus 400. East Group B is Milwaukee, Miami, the Knicks, the Wizards.
Let me guess who. Give me the group and let me guess who the favorite is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So East Group B is Milwaukee, Miami, the Knicks, Washington, and Charlotte.
Everything would tell you that it should be Milwaukee, but it's going to be Milwaukee, but it's not as close as you think it is.
Yeah,
it should be.
The Bucks are plus 130, Miami's plus 200, the Knicks are plus 425.
Interesting.
And then I won't go in order this time. East Group C is Toronto, the Bulls, the Nets, Orlando, and the Celtics.
Boston.
Yeah, minus 105 for Boston. But after that, it's pretty even. Brooklyn's plus 500. The Bulls are plus 500. The Raptors are plus 650. And the Magic are plus 650. Now, remember, the group stages are going to be 4 games, 2 home, 2 away.
Right.
So you could get clipped. Yeah, it's you know what I'm saying? You might have to only play Boston once.
Get caught up. Yeah.
You beat Boston. Next thing you know, they're second in the group, and you get that W at plus 500, 5-1.
For sure.
The West Group A. This is a tight one. We got Memphis, the Grizzlies, the Lakers, the Jazz, the Suns, and the Blazers. Phoenix.
That's a
Lakers,
hell of a group.
Yeah, Phoenix.
Because Utah is the type of team fuck around and catch you in a tournament game.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll give it to you one more
I'll
time.
go with
Suns, Lakers, Grizzlies, Jazz, Blazers.
Suns.
Yeah, Suns plus 140. Lakers plus 180. So a little 40-cent difference there. Memphis is plus 475. West Group B. Clippers, Mavs, Pels, Nuggets, Rockets. That's a fun-ass group.
That's a fun
Clippers,
group.
Mavericks, Pelicans, Nuggets, Rockets.
Nuggets for sure. But
Yeah.
I think the second is the biggest one on that. Is it the Mavs? It's the Clippers. It gotta be the Clippers, right?
Yeah, Clippers plus 280. Yeah.
Okay.
Nuggets plus 180. Clippers plus 280. Mavs plus 330. And then West Group C, also a fun one. San Antonio. The Thunder, the Timberwolves, Warriors, and Kings.
Man.
Super tight.
The Warriors obviously are going to be the favorite in that, but I don't know, Sacramento?
Yeah,
it's got to be tight. It's got to be super tight.
Tied for first. Sacramento's plus 250. The Warriors are plus 250. The Thunder are plus 300. Minnesota is plus 360. That's not too far off. And then
San Antonio.
The Wembanyama Spurs are plus 1200.
So outside of the Spurs, everybody's really tight in that one.
Yeah. Go to my Twitter page. It's up there. Couple tweets down. You can see the full list of the breakdown. So
that's great. Even just talking about that right then and there is like, I don't know who could win that group. Like you said, like one game literally makes a huge difference in getting out of that stage. So I love it, man. That's a great idea.
It's going to be fun, and it's not additional games. It still goes towards that full 82 game regular season schedule. All right, let's move over to
I wonder who gets is the broadcast? Is it a TNT and
they're
ESPN
going to
splitting?
announce that they mentioned in the article on NBA.com that they're going to announce the television rights, but it'll be nationally televised.
Interesting.
They mentioned, so we'll see how that shakes. Let's move over to Northwestern. Pat Fitzgerald fired after 17 years as the head coach of the Northwestern football program. Allegations have come out of hazing, racist culture, a lot of sexual acts within the hazing, a lot of different wild things from a program that is about culture more than winning, if we're going to be completely honest.
Absolutely.
If you want to talk about Ohio State and if they're there to win games or build up young men, they're there to win games. If you want to talk about Alabama, Saban probably likes to raise young men, but it's winning first.
If those young men don't win, he's not raising them anymore.
Not worried about it. You come to Northwestern still first and foremost as essentially probably the one between Northwestern and Stanford. You can almost consider them Ivy League type schools.
For sure.
That are not in the Ivy League. It is about raising young, strong men first, being about a student athlete representing Northwestern well. And then if you happen to win some football games as well,
that's great.
That is welcome.
And let's add to that. Go ahead.
So that is the culture, so much so that Northwestern under Pat Fitzgerald has won a few bowl games. We're going to get into it. The Holiday Bowl, the Music City Bowl, the Pinstripe Bowl after a 7-6 season.
They won a Citrus Bowl. Give them their credit.
Yeah, they won the Citrus Bowl
after
a shortened season.
Yeah.
In the middle of the pandemic.
Asterisk.
So what I'm getting at is they haven't really won too much. And they went out and gave Pat Fitzgerald a 10-year extension in 2021. And they built the Northwestern football program a absolute state-of-the-art facility.
And they're trying to get an $800 million stadium across the line.
One of the top athletic facilities in the entire country is at Northwestern, a non-football school. And the only reason that gets done is because Pat Fitzgerald is raising and leading young men. And they're turning into great guys. And the Northwestern football program is seen in a positive light. how do they even win 7 games a year? Pat Fitzgerald's just willing them to 7 wins a year. How else is it being done without Pat Fitzgerald? It's actually unbelievable what Pat Fitzgerald is doing. No one else could do it, I don't think. That's the aura around Pat Fitzgerald and the Northwestern football program. Now,
my God,
the allegations come out that maybe he hasn't been leading young men too well, and the culture isn't as sparkly and clean as once thought. Story comes out from the Northwestern students. They break it down.
Your own
they
people.
they have a couple anonymous athletes, which of course they do because I'm not the biggest guy on anonymous, but these are the type of people that deserve to be anonymous.
For sure. You don't want to get blackballed by Northwestern.
Yeah, those are the guys that deserve to be anonymous. The NBA reporter talking to the GM saying anonymous is completely different, right? But okay, that's a completely different story. These guys have the right to be anonymous. They had a couple athletes initially, and then as the days went on, a couple additional athletes came forward and said, "Hey, I have pictures of whiteboards in the locker room, essentially laying out hazing and what we're going to do and what freshmen need to get ready for, et cetera, et cetera." That also might be the reason over the last 2 years, the program is 4-20.
What's the record?
4-20.
4 wins and 20 losses.
Pat Fitzgerald signed a 10-year, $57 million deal in 2021 and has backed it up with a 4-20 combined record, 1-8 back-to-back in the Big Ten after the said Citrus Bowl in the shortened season that Nick the Quick brought up earlier. In the last 4 seasons, Pat Fitzgerald is 14. Pat Fitzgerald is 14-31. And that's including a 7-win season. So what I'm getting at, and where I'll then kick it to Nick, is Pat Fitzgerald had to be fired. There was no other option here. Clearly, there was something going on. Big smoke. There's pictures, there's athletes, former under him, coming out and saying, yeah, this was the culture. Pat may not, and also, I don't know if Pat knew or not. He probably did, in my opinion. But if he doesn't, that's your job to know. And it's clear you didn't know what was going on the football field because you're 4-20 the last 2, and you don't know what's going on in the locker room. So yeah, this is an easy pack up. Go ahead and take off. The hazing, these are, by the way, Nick, this is not like a team that he's inheriting, and some of these players aren't his.
Been there for 17 years.
He's been there forever.
He is the culture of the program.
He is the culture. He recruited every single player on the field, in the building.
Hired every coach.
Hired everything. These are the guys that you went and got that are perpetuating these actions. It was time for Pat Fitzgerald to go. I actually think that Northwestern can be Notre Dame when it comes to actually competing if they were to go out and go get a real coach. They're in the Big Ten. They're in Chicago. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to get big-time athletes that can pass the testing and get entry into Northwestern. They should be right there with Notre Dame when it comes to that, in my opinion. But I like to here at No Catch Up, we like to think highly and try to go after some shit. That might sound far-fetched to some. I know the culture at Notre Dame, but
it's a little different.
there's no excuse to go 4-20 with the best facilities in the country, a new potential stadium on the way, and you just got a 10-year extension worth $48 million. You can't do that. It's not. It shouldn't fly. So, I feel bad for the kids that got hazed. There's the suicide potential talk, and seems like mentally some of the kids are shook up. So I feel terrible about that. But Northwestern made the right play. It was time for Pat Fitzgerald to go.
Man, so that was I'm gonna go ahead and say in what, maybe six or 7 years that we've been doing this, that was probably one of the best things I've ever seen you lay out. Like, you just cooked there for a minute. So I'm gonna back that up with a couple things, couple facts about this. Number one, when we talk about Northwestern, full disclosure, we're from Evanston. We've lived in Evanston. We've grown up close to this university. So when we talk about how they view themselves, how they carry themselves, and what matters to them, like, for sure, 100%, trust us. We know what we're talking about because, again, we've been around Northwestern for a large part of our lives. So you nailed that. You hit that right on the head. Second thing is Sean hates Pat Fitzgerald, has been calling for Pat Fitzgerald's head for years, and it's felt everything he just said as far as Pat Fitzgerald's stewardship of the Northwestern program are things that he has been saying for quite a long time. So this isn't a new take, and I know you truly believe this way. But it's funny that you feel that way because you just laid it out, right? That's all they ask him to do. The culture, the prestige of the university, how you're viewed in the community, how you carry yourself, how your program is looked at, that is what matters to Northwestern, right? Win every 3 or 4 years, right? Make a splash, go to a bowl game. But what really matters is the image, right? Like, bleed purple, all that. And for 17 years, that's 100% what Pat Fitzgerald did. I will say this. He's had some good stretches. You talk about that 4-year stretch, the last 4 years where he's forget what he said the record is, but the previous 4 years to that, he did win, I want to say 29 games over that particular 4-year period, or 30-something games over that 4-year period. So he has had some success, but no. You look at other universities, they went 1-11 last year, right? And we didn't hear a peep about job security for Pat Fitzgerald. So Northwestern has always been clear in exactly what it is that they expect, and that's that you represent the program the right way. Like you said, raise upstanding young men, right? Don't end up in the news for the wrong reason, right? And represent the university. I think that's why, if you remember a few years ago when like Kane Coulter and them were trying to unionize, it was a big deal. Like, even Fitzgerald threw them under the bus. It was like, hey, this isn't how we do things here. Like, we like to handle things privately. So once it became a big story, you knew it was over with for Fitzgerald. It's not even about the allegations. It's not even about what happened. It's not about what's being alleged. It's not about any of that. It's about the fact that it made Northwestern look bad, and the story blew up more than they thought. Part of that's on them. You tried to dump this on a Friday afternoon. You know what the deal is. If you try to put a story out on a Friday afternoon, you are hoping and praying that it dies a death over the weekend. And come Monday, when everybody's picking up their quote-unquote newspapers or whatever it is, come Monday morning, it's no longer a story. Unfortunately, your own student, or fortunately for you, your own student newspaper picked it up and said, oh, no. This is odd. Why are they suspending Pat Fitzgerald randomly for 2 weeks in July? They got a hold of it. They conducted a couple interviews, and next thing you know, it's a national story. It's not helped by the fact that 50% of sports media, the prominent ones, went to Northwestern, right? Some of your largest voices in sports media went to They either went to Northwestern or went to Syracuse. Like, that's
shout out Greenberg.
Shout out Greenberg, Wilbon, even your boy Rovell, your colleague.
My Action Network colleague.
Network colleague, Darren Rovell, whoever it is, right? A lot of them, and people are just close to that particular program through the journalism aspect. So it's not helped by that. Like, the story just wasn't going to die. Northwestern should have known better than to drop this on people on a Friday afternoon. If you really want any chance of salvaging the story, you should have been out front with it, said this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and not have given anybody else a chance to run with it. You dropped it off on a Friday afternoon, your student newspaper picked it up, and next thing you know, it's massive. And once all that came out, it was over with. Now, right, look what happens. And this is what Northwestern didn't really want. Once you start looking into the football program and interviewing a couple players, you're going to go back and interview more players. And whenever you look at anything, no matter how clean it is, you're going to find some dirt, right? Now it's like, hey, we got an issue with the baseball team. Right after that, they drop a bombshell about the baseball team. And now it's like, oh shit, I guarantee you this AD is on his way out. Because in that baseball story, they're saying that people went to him and he ignored it. So he's going to be out. The fallout's going to be crazy because, like you said, what Northwestern cares about is image. And this is bad for their image. They look incompetent. It looks like they run a program just like everybody else where all this stuff happens. And again, we know Northwestern, they tried to hold themselves in the regard like we are a program where things like this don't happen. So when you look like everybody else and you're the subject of national attention and you lead Sports Center last night, right? And if it wasn't for Wimbledon, you're leading Get Up this morning. You're leading First Take this morning, right? That's the last thing that Northwestern wants. If you know anything about that university, more so than anybody else, that's the last thing that they want. Even if Pat Fitzgerald had been a winning coach, he's out as soon as that story picked up national traction.
I was going to say.
Shame on them for trying to do the Friday afternoon news dump. That's shameful. You knew what you were doing. We're not dumb.
And on top of that, y'all not winning any games?
You're not winning any games. But that doesn't matter. They could have went 12-0 last year. He's getting fired.
Sure, but I'm just saying it's like extra. It's like you're running a bullshit culture and a bullshit on the field. If you're gonna be running a bullshit clown culture with hazing in it, you better be showing up on Saturdays at the very least.
But they don't even care about that, even if you were.
100%.
Pat Fitzgerald had that job for life as long as he didn't embarrass the program.
100%.
He had that job he turned down other jobs. Michigan, no. NFL, no. Whoever, no. I can literally be at Michigan or Northwestern, make $5 million a year for the rest of my life.
And like it or not, for a guy like me, that I agreed with you, Nick. That was going to be the case.
That's great.
When every other 3 years win 9 games, you were fine.
9, win 6. Win 7.
Every other
11,
5 years win 7 games and you're straight.
But uphold the program, help us get this stadium built, be a man about town.
Yep.
Like, come on, man. It's a simple formula of that job over there. You don't have there's no pressure to win. Any other big Rutgers, you can go 1-11. You're on the hot seat.
Yeah, Maryland.
Not Northwestern. I didn't even know this is how much. I didn't even know they went 1-11 last year. The only game they won was in Ireland because you didn't hear a peep about his job status. Anybody else goes 1-11, you better win the next year.
It's crazy that it's been 17 seasons. He's been the head coach since 2006. That's when I graduated high school. That's how long ago that was.
Our whole adult life, he's been the head coach of Northwestern.
Yeah,
and he was going to be there for the rest of it. He's going to be there for my daughter's adult life. Like, I'm telling you, that guy would have been there for the next 30 years.
No question. Shout out.
So now there's the issue of the $42 million that they own.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue.
Because
something tells me he wants that bread.
I think he wants that. He's not going to. You guys can have that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Something tells me he's going to want that. But yeah, really tough situation. I really don't. I don't understand that hazing shit at all, man. I get the nail bonding. I get all. Yeah, I get the carrying
my pads.
I get all that. Yeah, that's
bring donuts on the road trip.
Yeah,
a naked center quarterback exchange to me just doesn't really sound like any type of brotherhood. Running through a shower naked with a bunch of other guys in an act to humiliate me doesn't sound like brotherhood, right? Coming into my room at night in mass and dry humping me doesn't really sound like brotherhood or something I want to be a part of, nor do I understand what kind of, humility it really teaches me. Like, that shit is weird. Like, someone explain, maybe someone who can explain to me what having a naked quarterback center exchange amongst the freshmen
some of these people out here
weird, bro.
You know how some of these people like that's their comedic style.
That
stuff
weird.
Like that to them is funny. Yeah, it is weird. And I'm going to tell you this. Stuff like that in the culture, when that stuff starts to spark up, is typically comes from big voices in the locker room that are actually big time players.
Yep.
Because those are the guys that carry the juice and can get people to do things.
Your offensive lineman.
The third string tackle is not getting anyone to do a naked quarterback. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Also,
for sure.
Also, I can guarantee you no big time freshmen that are coming in there are doing any of that bullshit.
Yeah, no.
Ain't no five. Well, first of all, not a lot of
No five stars
coming
walking in there anyway. So
but
yeah,
that's
5-star
also the other
quarterback.
thing.
Like yeah.
A smaller type of program, typically that type of shit happens. You're not getting 5-star guys to do goofy ass shit like that at LSU or Alabama. I guess potentially if that's the culture, but it's
what
a
do
lot
you
more
get?
rare.
I just don't understand it. Like, so what was the shower thing they had to do? Was like everybody would line up tight, right? And you had to run through it naked or some shit like that.
I didn't.
I tried to read it. I couldn't fully understand it.
Go check out the article. It was a lot of shit.
A lot of bozo shit.
They made you go in the locker room and it was dark and people had purge masks on and it was like some really weird odd ass shit. So salute to Pat Fitzgerald for stealing all that money for all these years. And we'll just leave it at that because there's not a lot of places in the world where you could be as mediocre for 75% of the time that Pat Fitzgerald was and get paid top dollar and would have had essentially a lifelong position.
He was never getting fired.
He was never getting fired.
And people are up in arms about him getting fired. That's how you know how.
Yeah, how dude, the culture around Pat Fitzgerald is something like it's very almost cult like. If you go hop on Twitter, type in Pat Fitzgerald, it's like I'd do this and that. This guy's a leader, all this other shit.
Drive around Evanston during football season. People used to have the big yard signs. I signed with Fitz. Yeah, that shit was all over the place. Yeah, they love that guy.
Loser ass football team.
Who should they bring? You think it's Mike Kafka?
I don't know. I'm not plugged in enough in the college football ranks to see who they should bring in, but I think that is I know it's Northwestern. I know it's hard for kids to get in there, but that should be a competitive squad, man. This is not Rutgers. This is not Maryland. None of that, man. They could be a competitive football team year in and year out.
I don't think it's fair. People try to compare it to Stanford. Stanford's different because you're recruiting out of the state of California, and it's the most talent-rich state in the country. Northwestern isn't doing that, but yes, you put a little bit of money behind it, and trust me, Northwestern has plenty money.
And then you want to add the NIL. You want to add the NIL piece.
Chicago NIL, and all the business, all the local businesses that have Northwestern ties in Chicago. Yeah,
it could be done.
If the boosters really came together, we're like, we want to, really pump NIL money into Northwestern. You would start seeing donors that real cash.
No doubt about it. All right, let's close out the episode. The Netflix quarterback show. Are you going to be tuned in? Are you going to be locked in? It features Mahomes. It features Marcus Mariota from last year was running quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. And, of course, the fun-loving regular season killer, Minnesota Viking, Kirk Cousins. It's just those three, yeah?
Yeah, it's just those three.
Mahomes, Cousins, and Mariota. Are you going to be locked in, Nick the Quick?
Yeah, I think I'm locked in. I think Netflix has done a great job on the sports documentaries going back to Drive to Survive, which we loved and thought is one of the best done. You can go to Full Swing. That kicked it off. Yeah, you can go to Full Swing, which is the golf one. I think it's Full Swing for golf. And then the tennis one with Fever Pitch, is it? Or?
Back shot or something?
Back shot. Hey, what you been watching? I'm watching the other Netflix.
No, not back shot. It's front court or something like that. Something like that.
Breakpoint.
Breakpoint. That's what it is. Breakpoint. That's what it is.
That's the next one. Anyways, yeah. So I'm going to be tuned in. I think it'll be interesting. I want to know how in depth they get. You know what I mean? Because I feel like you'll probably get a lot from Mariota because I think there was some interesting shit that happened with him on the Falcons. Didn't they banish him from the team basically?
Yeah,
they sent him away.
It should be. Yeah, it'll be. He's also he's the only guy actually fighting for his NFL
fighting
career.
For his job.
So I think week to week you'll be able to see a lot of different things like that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, you got three guys at three completely different levels, right? You have the best quarterback in the NFL, in Mahomes. You have whatever you want to call Kirk Cousins, you have whatever level he's at. You have Kirk Cousins, that middle levels, sure. And then you have the bottom level with Mariota. If they get access and it's like how they've done their other shows, man, I'm tuned in. They gave that 4-minute little trailer yesterday that just dropped. I don't know if you got a chance to see that.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it.
Yeah, I'm going to be locked, man. I'm excited. I would love if the NBA did something like this, but
I think the Kirk Cousins is going to be the most interesting out of the three for me because they were cooking.
He's going to be playing football and praying.
They had a cook. They were cooking though. Well, they were what? How many? They had 12 wins last year.
Yeah,
11 wins.
Yeah. At one point they were 10-2, right?
Yeah, 11 or 12 wins last year. Won every single one score game. 8-0 NFL record. He did the whole wearing the chains thing. The squad seemed to be behind him. He's a pretty polarizing guy, especially when it comes to the quarterback position. So we'll see how that shit shakes. I like to think I know a lot about Mahomes, but maybe I don't. So I'm going to be tuned in just to see it all and just to see how he goes about his business.
Is his pops going to be on the show? That's the real question.
Yeah, that's the real star of the show. If his dad is on the show, it's a wrap.
Baby boy. It's my baby boy.
If his dad is on the show, it's a massive hit.
Joe Burrow.
but yeah, man, yeah, the NBA would be great. I actually tweeted this because I was watching Wimbledon this morning. I think all that shit should be mic'd up. You go over to your box and you talk to your coach. All that should be mic'd. I want to hear what they're saying, how that go, how that sounds. I think, the tennis and the golf still deal with the classy piece of, it's
not unless you live. First off, you see the details that came out.
Of the agreement.
Yeah, the potential agreement. So Tiger and Rory would each get a live team. That live chairman, Saudi buddy, gets an Augusta membership.
No, of course he does.
Yeah,
he's gonna be walking around Augusta in the fit.
Yes, bro. Man, with $300 billion of wealth fund in them too.
Yeah.
And there was a couple other things. But those were the big things. So Tiger and Rory would each get a live team.
I don't know what that means. What do you mean they get a live team? What does that mean?
I don't know anything about live, so I guess there's teams in live.
But it's not. There's not going to be live anymore. I thought it was going to be one thing.
That's what it said. They get a live team, and then Greg Norman's out. Greg Norman would be out. So after all this, Greg Norman's out.
The PGA, Petty,
we're done with you.
Hey, we have one request. You guys can do whatever you want.
This fucking guy can't be involved.
Greg Norman is an absolute fucking full stop. He cannot be involved.
He's banished from golf. Yeah, we'll take everything. Hey, we'll even give this guy a fucking Augusta membership.
Yes.
Greg Norman cannot be involved.
The shark has got to go.
He's got to go. So
no
yeah,
question.
I think my man's getting the Augusta membership. Yeah, like you said, he's gonna be in Augusta, fully fitted up.
I hope so.
People playing.
I hope he is. I hope he brings all his boys too. I hope
with more money than anybody in there.
I literally hope they're walking around in the full fit all weekend and be fucking top tier content. And they're gonna have to interview him and shit.
Yeah,
like it's gonna be. You want to talk people? No, people.
Hey, it'll be like the World Cup. Remember the World Cup when my man's put the shit on Messi?
Yeah, that's what
like that. Yeah, it's gonna be like that.
Yo, they fuck around and change the green jacket. Gonna be the black cloak. They gonna change this shit gonna be crazy.
Black cloak.
We have
request. We have request.
Yes. Oh, you have Greg Norman. Sure. We'll get rid of Greg.
We'll get rid of Greg. He's done.
What if they got him? They put the thing on him for the Masters, dog.
Put the joint on him. Yeah. You think Tiger be up there in the joint? Hey. Tiger be up there in the joint.
U.S. Open champ. They got him on They got him with the joint on.
U.S. Open. Man. Yeah, you're wearing the joint. Oh,
what's that called?
Bro. It's not a turban. It's a.
What's that called?
Hijab.
Yeah, is that no? I thought that was the woman's.
I don't know what we're about to get canceled.
Islam clothing. What? We're not saying nothing wrong.
Hijab for men.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
Scarf.
I don't want to be ignorant, but the black thing.
Some of them shits be looking tough though. They got sunglasses on with it. That shit looks tough, bro. If I went out to Dubai, I'd be all over that.
Bro, the shit be pressed so crazy.
Yes.
I've never seen a wrinkle on none of these. They be pressed
crazy. Yeah.
Super
white,
starched out white.
Fresh.
Yeah, super tough.
You throw the sunglasses on with it. You look like you're about business, man. You don't take no for a minute for nobody. Yeah. So my man's is gonna be in Augusta. They're gonna have a team. Greg Norman's out. And there was something else But those are pretty much the details. That was the proposal that was sent through. No comment yet from Rory or Tiger's agent.
Oh, they don't want it. They have to have it.
Yeah, they have to have it.
Oh, they don't want a team. They have to have
you
a team.
have a team. Over
You have a team.
Hey, we're one organization now. I was listening to somebody who was like, "Oh, this is a huge, it's a huge win for the PGA because they're essentially going to be in charge." I'm like, it doesn't work.
I was
that way.
watching Real Sports, and Brian Gumbel did a little piece on the Live Tour, PGA Tour Major, and they were talking to some guy, I don't know his name, but you should go check out the clip on Real Sports HBO. And the agreement is the Saudis are going to fund everything, and the PGA are going to run everything. And the guy goes,
"Where is
if
that
that's
work?"
He goes, "If that's the case, it's the only organization in the world where the person that pays the bills doesn't run what's going on."
Hey, yeah, go ahead.
Like,
you guys do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I was like, yeah, that sounds exactly right.
That's never worked in the history of mankind. If I'm paying, I'm saying,
yes.
And we want people to think you're in charge. We might even let you think you're in charge. You're not in charge.
Not in charge.
Listen, man, these folks didn't get where they're at by fucking having somebody else run
the show.
Bro,
let's just not even overcomplicate it. If I'm paying all the bills and I want something done a certain way, it's going to be done that way. That's value? Just how the world works.
What's the value of the Saudi fund? It's $650 billion is the private investment fund value for Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
$650 billion.
And it seems like they could just add another 650 if they wanted to.
Nothing. Yeah. There's some more oil over there.
Yeah. So it seems like an endless
Yeah, the well is never dry.
The well is not dry over there in Saudi Arabia. That's fine. For sure.
Yes.
That's going to do it for No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. For Big Nick the Quick, I'm your host, Sean Little. Make sure you subscribe everywhere. Tell a homie to tell a friend. Share the episode. And we might be on a little summer break here, but we'll peek in, peek out throughout the summer. Next thing you know, football will be on the horizon. We'll be back fully loaded once, twice a week. You know how we get down. For Big Nick the Quick, I'm your host, Sean Little. No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. We'll see y'all next time.